Okay folks, so just wanted to give you an update on my day 2 of the installation of this Eonon GA7153 Android head unit. So the unit is basically installed, it works. There are several things that I don't really like. I mean, this is more of a phone extension than a car stereo. And that's really not my goal for this thing, but for the money I guess it's okay, under $300. But the GPS didn't come with it, the software didn't come with it, so you have to go out and buy, you know, some other $20–30 GPS software. The radio FM reception isn't great. It's okay, like it worked on one side of my garage, and when I moved the car to the other bay, the radio reception is crap now. And the other thing, the boot up time, this is the biggest issue with this head unit. The boot up time, it is way too slow. I have seen some videos of people that have gone in and disabled a whole bunch of features, you know, that come with the Google, with the Android system, and that seems to speed it up. But in terms of booting up, I'm not sure that resolves that. I will be contacting Eonon to see if maybe one of these wires needs to be connected to steady power, so that it retains some kind of a backup state or sleep mode or whatever. So I'll be contacting them. Anyways, I wanted to give you an update on how I routed the video wire to the back of the car for the backup camera. First of all, one note is it initially didn't work. The backup camera didn't work, and that's because these cars, again, this is a 2014 Beetle. These cars have this CAN bus setup. Essentially, there's a signal that rides over the 12 volts. And so even though the backup light that I have in the trunk obviously does have 12 volts, when you put it in reverse, there is a signal riding on it, and that doesn't allow the backup camera to power correctly, and there's interference and whatnot. So they give you a little, they call it a filter relay, I believe they call it, which when you take the the black wrapping off, looks like this. And it's got 4 wires, it's got labels, and for the life of me, I could not make up what the heck this thing, how it's wired up. And it turns out the labels are wrong. So I managed to map it out, and this is essentially how this thing should be connected. Again, this is the gadget there. And basically you have the white wire should go to the backup lamp, positive of your backup lamp. The yellow wire should go to ground. And then the red wire is again the other side of the switch. So the black wire goes to +12, a fixed +12 steady source, not the light in your trunk, because the light in your trunk also has the CAN bus signal riding on it. So you have to pick up, I'll be picking up the cigarette lighter here in a minute, and I'll show you how I did that. And then basically this is a relay that has some filtering that makes sure that current only goes in one direction. And so basically you have to make sure that the red wire is hooked up to the positive side of the camera, and then the negative side of the camera goes to ground, to the car chassis. So that's the wiring for this gadget. So again, the real quick update I wanted to give you is how I fed the wires through. So I apologize for not doing this on camera, but it is very complicated, and it takes some tinkering to figure out how to open up all this stuff. So basically, by putting my little plastic tool here underneath this crack over here, you can basically pull forward a little bit. Actually, sorry, let me back up a little bit. So first you got to take this out, okay? So essentially you pull your tool right in between here, and you pull up a little bit, and you see that it's got these clips here all the way around. So by pulling very gently all the way around this thing, this comes off. Then you put your car, you turn on the ignition, you press the pedal, and you can move this backwards. And so now you have room. So then so there are going to be 2 screws here, okay, 2 Torx. You take those out, and then you grab this right here, and you lift up a little bit and pull back, and at the same time put a tool back here, a plastic tool, and just try to pry a little bit here and on the other side, and also kind of pull it up and forward and backwards at the same time. There are some clips here, right there, so those need to unhook. There is really no easy way to get under there and pry it forward, so you kind of have to pull it up and then pull it forward like that, and one at a time those come out. This also needs to come out actually before you do that. Actually, I'm not sure that you need to pull this out, now that I see this, before you remove this. But if you don't do that, then this won't pull out forward enough, because these cables are very short, and those cables are for the airbag passenger light as well as for the hazard lights. So one thing about the airbag light is, don't make the mistake that I made, which I knew at the instant I did that. If you turn on the ignition with this unplugged, you will get a airbag light to come up on your dash. And so now I have an airbag fault turned on in the dash, and I can't shut it off. So I do have an ODB dongle. Hopefully the one I have will allow me to shut off the to reset the airbag fault. Otherwise I'll have to have the dealer do it. No big deal, just, you know, minor nuisance. So this is forward. Okay, so 2 screws here. There is let me get the armrest back in here. Okay, so you have the armrest here. There is a cover back here, which looks like this. Okay, so again, just by going around in the edges on both sides and on the top, you can very easily pry this open, and this comes out. When you pry that out, sorry again, this has all been taken apart. Let me put it back together real quick so I can show you. Okay, that goes there, and then the armrest goes in there. Okay, so underneath the armrest, okay, you lift that, and you lift this guy. There is a Torx screw right there, this little hole that you see right there. There's going to be a Torx screw right there. You pick that up, you take that out. Then you go back here, and you're going to take off this nut that goes in there, which is in my back seat right now. You take that out, and then this entire armrest comes out. Put that aside. Then you'll have this bracket here. There are going to be 2 Torx screws right here and a nut down there. You don't need to take out that nut all the way. You can just undo it all the way up to the end of the thread. Take out the 2 Torx over here, and then this bracket comes out. And now you're left with this. Okay, so there is no need to take this out altogether. Basically at this point, this is loose. It moves, as you can see, and it's just enough to allow you to feed something underneath. So the carpet that is here actually ends somewhere over here underneath this thing. And so what I did at this point is I fed a electrical metal tape, you know, feed wire, guide wire here. Okay, so I actually put it over here, and I fed it this way, and I kind of lifted this up until I could push it forward, and then it came out over here, and then I lifted this up and I fed it underneath the carpet, and it came up over here, and then I lifted this up and I picked it up over here and I pulled it out, and there was my wire. What I did, I actually hooked up a cord to it. Okay, and then on the cord I tied my video feed wire on this side, so I made the cord then go all the way up here. I hooked up my video feed wire to it, and then I just gently pulled it back down all the way out, and I came out right here. Okay, so here's my cord, my cord with my video wire. I actually need to feed 2 more wires. I want to feed a like I said, a fixed ground power 12 volts, and also I'm going to feed another video wire. I don't have one at the moment, so I'm just going to use this stereo cable. It's the same thing basically, because I might want to replace the backup camera at some point with some of the other special eBay, you know, cameras that are out there for $15, $18 or so, just so that I have the option to do different style cameras. And then to go from here all the way to the back, it's easy. You're just basically I'm gonna feed the wire underneath this carpet right here, and then it's gonna go underneath the plastic right there, and then it sneaks under the seat, and then can't see anything right there, but underneath there is a little hole, which allows the steel cable to go through to allow you to lower the seats. And so the wire is going to go through there, and then once it's in the trunk, it's going to come out of that hole right there. Again, allows the wire to go through there, and then you're just going to feed it over here, and now you're at your backup wire for your headlamps. To get to the headlamps, so it's actually pretty easy. I'll show you. Here's what one of the headlamps looks like, the one for the other side. Basically, once you opened and removed the cover that goes here for the trunk, it's really easy to unplug this. You basically just pull this red tab backwards, okay, like this, and then you keep pulling on the tab again, and the entire connector comes off the connector right here. So it's one connector, and it does all the lighting in here. To remove, so now then you say, okay, well, great, you're done. Well, now you still have to feed the wire outside, so for the camera, for the video, and power to the camera. So my plan here is to, if you follow, again, in this car, in this Beetle, if you follow this wire right here, it goes into the frame, and then it goes right inside this, there it goes into a grommet right there on the floor. And that grommet comes out right here in the corner of the trunk. So this is where the wiring comes out for, it looks like there is some fuel pump stuff here, and then for the backup light, not the backup lights, the tail light, license plate lighting connects right here. There is a pigtail on the trunk, on the bumper rather, that distributes power to the to the two license plate lights on right over the license plate. This other wire right here must be the airbag, so don't touch that, because again you'll have your fault come on. So to remove the bumper, the other adventure here is not complicated. Just here's something I missed here. So it's not complicated, just a little bit involved. So basically, you're gonna have 3 screws along the edge here of the fender, and then there's gonna be, you have to actually lift this, move this out of the way, and there's actually a screw right here, okay, that keeps the very tip of the bumper attached to the body right there. So make sure that you open this up and you look inside. There's going to be a screw, another Torx screw right inside there. There is a Torx right here on the very bottom of the bumper, right and on the corner of the diffuser, where the bumper meets the diffuser right there. And same thing on the other side, okay. And then on the very bottom of the bumper, there are plastic clips that hold the diffuser on these brackets right here on the bottom of the car. What else? Okay, so then to take it out, you basically have to be very gentle. There are some clips here on the top, right there, and then there's also a clip here on the bottom, right there, only, I believe. So basically, again, with a plastic tool, you try to pry that a little bit until you see the bumper that starts moving forward. And then again here, there are clips all the way around this top edge. So this was just a matter of prying that again very gently until you get it a little bit at a time. You see here, I broke this guy right there. When I inserted my plastic tool here and tried to pry this down a little bit, this popped up and I cracked it. So I put some resin type of glue, and it seems to be fine right now. There are some torque screws, by the way, here. And there's another one here, and again, same thing on the other side. So, to remove the inside of the trunk, there is going to be a screw right here. In fact, that's the hole right there. That holds that piece of plastic that goes here that covers the latch. And then there are a whole bunch of plastic buttons that go around that allow you to remove the side cover. The floor comes out easily, of course. And that's it. So there is no fixed power in here. Only the light, the LED, the light that's inside the trunk, which I actually already spliced another wire on top of it. And what I did is I carried my wire, as you can see there, into the trunk, and then I actually put an LED light right here. So this one is actually a modification that I did a while back that allows me to have lighting right here as the trunk is open, and it's in parallel with that light. But again, that light is not fixed power, and it does have that CAN bus signal writing on it, so that is not good as power to power up your camera. So I'll be bringing a fixed 12 volt power from the cigarette lighter here. I don't need that to be on when the car is not on, so the cigarette lighter is perfect. So that's it. Just wanted to show you how I got the wire all the way out to the trunk. Not an easy task, and that's why I'm at day 2 of this operation, because I'm just taking my time, and it's a long weekend, so the car doesn't need to go anywhere. And now I'm about to feed the additional video wire that I might need sometime in the future, as well as that power wire in here. And then once I'm done with that, I'll be putting all back together. Okay, so I'm continuing the quest of feeding my power, video signal, and additional spare video signal to the trunk. And I want to show you a new trick I just found. So as I said, I fed all the wires underneath here. They come out right there. I kind of tape them down to keep them neat and make sure that the seat doesn't pinch them, even though nobody sits back here anyways. It goes here, and then my plan is to send it under here and just right along the side over there and go into the trunk. Well, I managed to feed a wire under here, but there is this metal bar that is too close to the floor here, so the video connectors don't fit. The original video cable that came with this is very small, that would fit. It's this little guy right here. This little guy right here, so that would fit, but again, I'm trying to do something a little extra here. So I want to show you something I just figured out. So I fed my electrical tape here basically in the upwards direction, like this, basically towards let's say the middle of the seat right here, and I kept feeding it. And at one point it was hitting something, and I kept feeding and pushing and pulling and feeding it, and then at one point it actually go through something, and I go look, it actually came out right here. So this is an awesome spot to have all that wiring go through, because it's not on the floor, it's way up here, it's obviously where the cabling is, so it's a perfect location. So just wanted to show you that. Here's my tape wire, and then it's got to go right here in this area, and that's where I'm going to keep the relay and plug it into the splice it into the backup light. Okay guys, so here is the finished product for the Eonon head unit installation I've been talking about. So here's the car, everything back together, and the backup camera. Okay, so I drilled a hole right at the top there in the center, screwed this in with stainless steel screws, and then fed the wire through. So the camera, I guess it's doesn't show very well, very much, so that's a good thing. And inside, everything is also back together. Okay, and that's what the stereo looks like in the dash. I have not put the final trim on yet because I just want to make sure that it works fine. I haven't even taken the screen protector off yet. So again, the biggest gripe is that it takes a long time for it to boot up. Now I have it set to shut off after 10 minutes of opening the door. So if I hit the ignition switch right now, it comes on fairly quickly. There it is. And if I put it in reverse, I can also, so the door is open right now, and so the door open screen comes up, and that's really the only, by the way, the only automated feature that's that reads the car CAN bus. There are some other things, but you have to open an app in order to see them, so it's kind of pointless. So let me shut the door. In fact, I can actually click on this, by the way, and it goes away, which is nice in case you need to leave the door open and you still want to be able to see the screen. Shut the door so that it stops beeping. And I did get it. I said much earlier on that I couldn't get it to read the SD card. I think what it is that it took a long time for it to scan. It's a 32 gigabyte card. There's about 29 gig of music on it, so it just needed to probably scan it, index it, and so on. I mentioned earlier also that I turned the car on without this passenger airbag light installed, and so the light on the dash went on and stayed on for the airbag fault. I do have an ODB dongle, and I was able to reset it, no problem at all. So that's cool. One thing, by the way, I noticed also is that when you push the button to mute it, right, the music keeps playing. So it keeps advancing, which is silly. In my other car, it's an Audi Q5. When I press the mute button, it stops the music, not only the volume itself, but it also stops playing. So that makes more sense. So that would be a simple software change that can make to have it actually pause right there when you hit mute, and then when you hit the volume again, it should pick it up again, and again it doesn't do it right now. So that would be a simple software enhancement. I did manage to get into the advanced car settings. The password is 123456, and then there is also a developer settings. The password is 7890. I found a whole bunch of settings, one of which, by the way, is the steering wheel control grid lines. So if I put it in reverse now, the camera comes on. I have double grid lines, but as you can see, I'm moving the steering wheel, and the blue one, the long blue one, and the orange one that moves is the one that I was able to turn on from the hidden settings, from the car's hidden settings. And then the dark blue one right here, that signal must come from the camera itself, and it cannot be shut off. So I have kind of a 3D effect, if you will, of grid lines. It's not a big deal. The way I showed you the camera is set up right now, I have basically this last solid red line. It's about a foot, maybe a foot and a half at most, away from the rear bumper. So that's a good safety zone to know. So I know that, you know, if my obstacle is on the red line, I'm about a foot and a half away from the rear bumper. So that's good. It's a good safety margin. So again, everything's back together. Everything's back together, including the dashboard, including my custom-made button for the garage door opener. So again, the remote you can't see it, but it's hanging right here on the inside of this cover. And basically I can press the button there and my garage door opens. So now that is a hidden button. So this has been a decent experience in terms of installing this in the car. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and everything kind of worked out the way I expected in terms of feeding the wires through the center console here, installing the camera, drilling, and so on and so forth. My bumper isn't perfect, so putting a hole into it wasn't a big deal. In terms of am I happy with the head unit itself, like I said, there are a couple of things that I wish they could improve. One of them is boot up time must be improved. There is something that has to make sense in order to be used in a car. And secondly, it'd be nice if it when you mute, it stopped the music from playing. The other thing is, which is actually a pretty big deal as well, I would rate that number 2, is the radio reception needs to be improved. They're probably going to tell me to put an amplifier in there. There is a wire that seems to, it's labeled antenna, so I'm thinking that one gets powered when the radio is on, which means they can power the amplifier. I did notice that there is a setting in one of the hidden menus under car settings that you need a password for to get into that says power antenna or something like that. So maybe I need to go in there to make sure that that is enabled in order for power to show up on that pin. So the reception is a big thing. Also, I noticed that in some of the settings it talks about radio region, and it was set for Europe. So I set it for USA, and didn't seem to make a difference. Actually seemed to be capturing less stations when I did the auto scan. So I put it back on Europe, but again, if I move 6 feet sometimes, the reception kind of gets crappy, and then it comes back, and I'm just in my driveway, right? So I haven't actually driven the car out on the road yet, but if it does that while you're driving, that's unacceptable. So I'll be evaluating that as well next. And other than that, I'll get back to you and see how they respond to these 3 major requirements that I have for this to be a decent car stereo, basically. Also, I'll probably go back and disable a bunch of the settings in terms of the internet and things like that. I don't really care about those things, so I just want to make the radio faster and more responsive. And lastly, the one thing I wasn't happy about is the fact that you have to download your own GPS software. I got a bunch of different types that are free for now. Some of them have 7-day free trial. Some of them seem to be free. But as you know, nothing's free, so there's probably ads or whatever that pop up. Although I'm not going to be online, so I don't know how that's going to work. So I'll be evaluating that next as well. All right, so have fun. This has been a fun project, and seems to have worked out so far.